Welcome you guys to a Friday edition of the Watch Party here on the Watch List. Good to see you. I hope you guys are prepared and ready for the weekend. I hope you guys are going to have a great day today. There's so much happening as usual, but you know what? I decided I need to start reminding folks of some things that are always on my mind now as we get started. We got Donald Trump, the guy in the White House. It needs to be first and foremost mentioned. He and his administration are still covering up the Jeffrey Epstein files because his name is plastered all over them with horrid details of the things that he committed. That's also based on victim testimony of things that he did with child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and his right hand woman, Ghislaine Maxwell. I just want to point that out because it's been most of this week and I haven't mentioned it myself. This is how we forget the abhorrent things this guy's done, because obviously this is not the first one. This is just the one that he really, really doesn't want anyone to know about. So let's not let that story die, because there's still victims and there's still accountability to be made. Just want to make sure you guys remember that. I might even start these streams with one more piece of information, or maybe some testimony from someone who was a victim of his horrific crimes. It has to be remembered every time we talk about it, because there's victims and they deserve some justice from this fascist president. Other than that, hi everybody, what's going on? Miss Chivalrous Dragon's in there. Swede Dane Dragon is in the house as well. What's up, Ma? I see Mom there finally. Christina Elisa Brown, good to see you guys. Vanessa DeFranco, I think that's a new name I haven't seen in a while. Hi to you all as well. Abby Normal, as usual. The regular watchers and the nerds in the house. There's a lot happening. I found myself beginning to over prepare for these things. I just end up with tons of things to go through and talk about, but I'm going to try and take it slow and make sure we talk about this clean and easy. How about we start here with the state of our economy, where it's going, but also the people that are running it and the huge clowns that they really, truly, really are.
No tariffs, no tax cuts. So are tariffs price hikes or tax cuts? I say they're tax cuts.
I mean, many economists would say that they're tax hikes, because ultimately a consumer will pay for some of those increased prices.
Look, that debate has been going on since the first term, and most economists just don't agree with us.
No shit, Peter Navarro. Most economists do not agree with the stupid assumption that he's now claiming is a debate over what tariffs, the effect of tariffs are. And most economists just don't agree with him. Also, people's wallets don't agree with him. Reality doesn't also agree with you. Here's one of those experts that knows what they're talking about and what's happening with these tariffs that doesn't agree with Peter Navarro's dumbass.
So how much of the economy do you think is priced into the markets at these levels based on the data that we saw last week?
I still think the tariffs are not priced in now. We've had a lot of front loading, and so the effects of the tariffs are still, the worst is still ahead to be felt. And the tariff levels we're ending up with now are not that far below Liberation Day. I mean, it's running around a 15% tariff now, but I think it's headed towards 20%. Liberation Day, when the market was really panicked, it was around 22%. So I still think that the worst on the tariffs is still to come. And the data pretty consistently across the board has been looking at a downshift.
Why do you think the worst is yet to come on the tariffs?
Because I think you've had a tremendous amount of front loading that occurred in the first half of the year, anticipation of the tariffs. And I still think the tariff number that we're ending up with is higher than some expectations. I mean, 15% became the new 10%, and you still have these product-specific tariffs that are going in, and we still have some wild cards out there like Russia.
There's lots of reasons why these tariffs are a disaster, and they may get much worse. I mean, unless there's more pauses and pushbacks and more negotiations of nothing. But currently they're standing even worse numbers than he pitched out on April 2nd. There's people who know what they're talking about that disagree with Peter Navarro. So the reasons why Peter Navarro is out there saying that they disagree with me is because once people talk about what people are disagreeing with, questions get asked and he answers them, or he doesn't answer them. Watch this.
We'll go here and then here.
What's your takeaway from this PPI?
Sir, come on. you're violating the rule here, right? We're talking pharma. Yes, ma'am.
Don't violate the rule. You can't ask me about tariffs. You can't ask me about the Trump economic policy that's horrific, that we see is destroying our economy. We follow the rules, bro. What do you think this is? Like free press or something? Like you can ask me any question that you want, because that'll make me look bad. And it'll also make the guy who's destroying the country look bad as well, too. So please don't ask me about that. Can we stop and pay attention to the answers that people who are in positions of power are giving to us about our money, about our country, about our government? And they're many times the same people who said they don't want people taking over our country, that ice people out, that have no transparency, that are all up in your business, but they're doing all of those things. So Peter Navarro doesn't want to answer that question. What he wanted to talk about is this new order, or this potential new order that Donald Trump wants to put in place as far as lowering prices on pharmaceutical drugs. I mean, there's tons of people who have to deal with prescription drugs in this country, and the prices are already off the charts. It's one of the things that he ran on. He's going to make these just the lowest ever. It's going to be great. You won't be surprised as the vehicle that he thinks he should use to make sure that happens. But Peter Navarro wanted to talk about it. If you hear what he said about it, he probably shouldn't have talked about it.
With what's likely to be pharmaceutical tariffs that are coming when the Department of Commerce issues that report, and if it recommends tariffs, we'll get them. So the idea, and this is like, you're an investor network, this is big time for investors. There's billions of dollars to be made here if you can identify who the actors are who are going to win from this.
I guess, so you mentioned the tariffs coming. First of all, do we know when? And second of all, doesn't that make that harder for the U.S. to secure and for the drug companies to produce? Because they can't just flip a switch and manufacture in the U.S. overnight.
No, look, the tariffs are likely under Section 232 because it's very clear that we have a national security crisis. Going back to the pandemic, China threatened to drown us in a sea of coronavirus. I don't know if you remember that, but stay focused, if you would, just on what this order does.
It's a state of emergency. We got to slap tariffs on prescription drugs. So as we see our prices go up on everything else, as you see the effect of tariffs, which he's still denying is what the effects of them are, we just might slap more tariffs and have that be the solution to the problem on prescription drugs, says Peter Navarro, the guy that was downgraded from being part of the A team, which is actually an amateur team that was supposed to be putting forward this tariff policy because it's being headed by Donald stupid ass Trump. Let's pay attention to what it is that they were doing. He wants to talk about what is it they're doing with these prescription drug prices and these tariffs. So a news agency, Scripps agency, talked about what it is that's happening. In case you guys didn't, I just want to give the full picture. This is what's happening.
The Trump administration says it expects to announce possible tariffs on pharmaceutical imports soon, putting doctors and patients on edge. The president says the tariffs will start small, but could increase by up to 250%, which would be a gut punch, especially for cancer patients.
Affordability of prescription drugs is a real problem for U.S. consumers, even those who do have insurance.
Mariana Sokel with the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health says 30% of cancer patients don't fill their prescriptions now because they cannot afford them. There's also been a shortage of important chemotherapy drugs, and she warns the tariffs could also lead to further drug shortages.
We are actually exposing patients to perhaps higher costs and deeper affordability problems or shortages because some manufacturers may choose to not sell to the United States.
There's so many consequences for these types of policies. But again, too many smart people that work in the field that they're saying they know everything about. This Trump administration says they know everything about just by saying, I said so. Continue to warn us of the effects of what he's doing. Tariffs to him are the answer to everything. And that answer is taking more of your money so that you're more desperate. And he just tells you it's your fault. Here's the second half of that Scripps News report talking about the effects of what it is that he's proposing he's going to do.
Brand name drugs already cost 3 to 4 times more in the U.S. compared to other developed countries. And even if the drug you're prescribed comes in a generic, expect those prices to increase too, since generic drugs are more likely to be imported from Europe. The Trump administration is touting the goal of lowering prescription drug costs in the long run, but Sokol fears the move could impact drug development.
There is a possibility that the uncertainty in these markets can discourage investors from investing in these industries. And of course, drug makers, without that investment, they will have to make difficult decisions where they want to continue to pursue drug development.
In every aspect of our lives. I talked yesterday about what's going on with the economy. Of course, we see the tariff policy and where that's affecting people's prices and the amount of the producer index and how much they can actually spend on what it is that they're creating. And that was also exacerbated by the fact that there's this mass deportation plan that's tearing down many employees that work in these fields. But as far as this also discourages folks and these companies from producing and even selling these prescription drugs in the United States because of the volatile nature of this guy who's destroying everything. It's not just one thing. He doesn't make one bad decision. There's reasons why he bankrupted absolutely every company that he's ever worked under and created, even though they still tout his business acumen as something that we should trust. His business acumen sucks. His business acumen had him a loser, but he goes out and touts it as if it's real. This false sense of whatever reality he's creating that we've bought into, it's kind of our fault for continuing to buy into what we know this guy is. He's a complete failure. So when people said that during the first time he ran, it was true then. And now that there's no guardrails to keep him from doing 100% of the stupid things that he does, we pay the price for it. And that's actually literal. It's information versus the propaganda. Here's the propaganda side of them trying to push this. It's always goes to this. I want to give you guys the information and the facts from real people who know what they're talking about. And this is the answer to what it is we should believe instead of what we're seeing and hearing.
Auto factories, AI factories, and every other thing. They're all coming in because they want to beat the tariffs. Because if they open here, they don't have to pay tariffs. If they don't open here, they have to pay, in some cases, 200%, 300%. I haven't even set some of the tariffs yet. I'll be setting tariffs next week and the week after on steel and on, I would say, chips. Okay. Chips and semiconductors we'll be setting sometime next week, week after.
What rate are you looking at? What rate?
I'm going to have a rate that is going to be lower at the beginning. Then that gives them a chance to come in and build after a certain period of time. And if they don't build here, they have to pay a very high tariff, which doesn't work, so they'll come and build. Auto factories.
55%? I don't know. Does that sound like someone who knows what they're doing? He's not hiding it. He can't hide it. He's too fucking stupid. He can't hide it. He's dumb. But he just does things and he destroys things. Can someone ask every Republican who says everything this guy's talking about is God's word? Can someone ask them why that makes sense? Just follow up with that. Why does that make sense? And why are you on board with it? Because we already know that these Republicans are on board with it. Why are you on board with something that this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about? He just told you he doesn't know. But instead, he sends in his goons to say, steel chips is the best thing ever, despite what you're seeing. Here's Stephen Moran, who he wants to appoint to replace Jerome Powell as the head of the Fed so that they can lower rates based off of nothing, because none of it makes any sense. Here's more of the propaganda.
Next, Fed governor, what are your priorities?
Thanks, Maria. Well, as you know, at the moment, excuse me, At the moment, my priorities are continuing to help the president and the rest of his team create the best, most vibrant, most booming economy in history. And I got to say, that's all going very well. You know, the economy is just on fire. Inflation is under control. The president has scored win after win after win with the One Big Beautiful Bill, restructuring global trade, bringing in trillions of dollars of commitments. It's just been a tremendous string of successes, and I expect it to continue like that. However, with respect to the Fed, you know, as you know, I do have a nomination coming in front of the Senate, so I have to let the Senate do its process, and there's limits to what I can talk about with respect to the Fed. But, you know, what they do is very important, and I'm looking forward to, if confirmed, being a part of it.
Next, Fed.
That guy sat there and said that the economy is on fire. I mean, he's actually right. It's on fire, except it's burning is the problem. But he's had all these victories, win after win after win. How about you name those wins? Oh, he's restructured the global trading market against us. He's brought in trillions of dollars of our money. Like this, we already know this. Enough people have debunked this, but they just keep saying it. This is worse than any other propaganda campaign I've seen in any other instances through history. This is them just completely ignoring what people know and are saying in front of us, because there's more information available to people now. So as we see it and experience it, they just tell you you're not seeing and experiencing what you're seeing and experiencing. This guy is winning. Don't you know who he is? He's Donald Trump. That's all it takes. And Maria Bartiromo sat there and said, yeah, sure. Things are on fire. It's great. It's wonderful. Yeah, sure. She said all that when just yesterday she had to report this. She said that today, I guess that was this morning, but had to report this just a day before.
Breaking news right now, and a spike in the producer price level of inflation. Take a look. Markets are selling off here because the July PPI came in up 0.9%. Worse than the estimated up 0.2%. This is the headline number. It was expected up 0.2, came up 0.9%. Year over year, it is up 3.3% versus an estimate of up 2.5%. Now, when you look at core, it's also troubling because in the core PPI, it was up 0.9% versus an estimate of 0.2%. Year over year, the core up 3.7%, also higher than the estimated expectation, which was up 2.9%. These numbers have
win after win after win after win after win. Why didn't she ask him? You mentioned all these wins, Stephen. But just yesterday, I reported that the producer price index sucks. I also reported that the core inflation sucks, and this is bad. Where are the wins? Why is this working? She's not a journalist. She's not even someone who's curious enough to ask those questions. Because if anybody sits from one day to the next and has to talk about the same subject that she talks about, they would go, "Man, I remember yesterday there were no wins." It's weird. Why do you say that? I mean, just out of simple curiosity. You know why? Because the concerted effort is to make sure that people believe whatever it is they tell them to believe. Last part about this whole economy thing, I understand. I just want to point out the reason why maybe it's boring is because that's the purpose of it. They want you to be bored by the actual facts and jazzed up by the win after win after win after win talk. That's how propaganda works. So again, over on CNN, as they have the roundtable conversations about it, don't forget, this guy also fired the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because his job numbers sucked. And also now inflation numbers are measured through that same bureau as well. So, you know, when that goes off the rails, that's going to suck too. But now with just the producer price index numbers, you might not be surprised as the answer that this water carrier had for that being bad news as well.
You could not justify lowering rates when you have rising PPI and CPI.
Now, I also think you have to question the source. This PPI number also comes from the same folks that brought you the jobs numbers.
I mean,
I'm sorry. Listen,
facts
yes,
are not facts
seriously,
in this world.
seriously.
Facts are not facts.
Question
But
the
it's the
data.
PCI.
Let's talk about where the data comes from.
To say that the PPI is not accurate, and then you have a president calling for Goldman Sachs to fire their economist because he doesn't like what he's saying.
Something told me that you would say that about. Something told me that you would say that about the price. Listen, it is I wanted to say hilarious, but it's really not funny. Beyond belief that now, when the warning signs are flashing, oh my God, don't trust the numbers. And when things were stable, it was like everything's fine.
No.
But let's take it at a given.
You could.
Clowns. They have an incentive for us to continue to give them a bunch of money. That guy's an idiot. But he's just there to carry some more water and be a propagandist because he supports a fascist. I'm done with the economy stuff. Let's move on to something else. But before we do that, again, welcome everyone who came in who wasn't the early birds. All you cool people drinking on something on a Friday. I still got my water. No, I'm not going to begin to go that route yet. Maybe it hasn't gotten bad enough in this country. Maybe one day soon I'll bring out a beer or something, a couple of shots for a Friday as we go into the weekend. But either way, maybe you guys have that opportunity. Take a sip on something while you work. No one will ever notice. Don't worry about it. But if you guys are enjoying it, of course, like, subscribe, share the stream. All of the stories that we do on here are going to go on the watch list page later on today. You know, after I jazz them up a little bit more and cut out all my ums and the ahs and go straight to all these videos that we really want to talk about. So let your friends know about that as well. We're hitting the stories that maybe they're not talking about, or maybe they are. And you just want to hear my perspective for it and see the way you guys talk about it. Let's go to this next topic now. This all went down yesterday in California, and it's the response to what was going on in Texas and this redistricting fight that continues on. No, that story has not gone away either, despite the fact that they're on the hunt for those Democrats that took off to Illinois and a couple other states to avoid them trying to continue to usurp democracy from the people's hands. Because, you know, Republicans don't believe in that. They're patriots. So either way, I want to talk to you guys about what former President Barack Obama, who I think some of you guys are wondering where he's been. He apparently called in to those Texas Republicans and spoke to them about the efforts that they've got. And every time this happens, I'm like, I do wonder what Obama's talking about. I'm curious what his stance is on things that are going on in our country. But on this issue, he's there. Watch.
What we all recognize is we can't let a systematic assault on democracy just happen and stand by. Because of your actions, because of your courage, California responding, other states looking at what they can do to offset mid-decade gerrymandering that is highly irregular. I think we became a little bit complacent. We assumed that things would continue to get better. Our democracy would become more inclusive, that it would become more fair, that we'd make it easier for people to vote rather than harder for people to vote. The votes would be counted rather than suppressed. What we forgot is that history doesn't always move in a straight line, and it's not always 2 steps forward and another 2 steps forward. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward and a step back. And we're in a moment right now where not just gerrymandering, but efforts at voter suppression, questioning the results of elections, the executive branch unilaterally doing things, bypass Congress, militarization of cities, politicization of our justice departments and our military. Those are trend lines that remind us that this precious democracy that we've got is not a given. It's not self-executing. It requires us to fight for it.
Tennessee Holler was pointing that out. President Obama, former President Obama, speaking to those Democrats that took off from Texas to keep these folks from redistricting them straight out of all democracy. So Obama speaks in these terms that we've heard before, and it's all true. We have to protect our democracy. We're seeing where it's going. It's a fragile state. It requires work. We can't just sit back and watch it. Look at all the 7 to 8 to 10 to 12 to 175 things that this president is currently doing. That's a guy who's telling us what it is that's happening. And on the ground, we need more folks that are doing it. So as we're seeing it happen, I noticed there's this trend line out of California, and Governor Gavin Newsom out there is pushing this response to it in ways that other folks maybe haven't. And there's plenty of issues you can have with Gavin Newsom, but we need this kind of energy. He posted this video called "A 5-Alarm Fire for Democracy" just to really highlight what it is that's happening and maybe cause more people to pay attention. Check this out.
It is a 5-alarm fire for democracy in the United States of America. Donald Trump, who's trying to light a torch
on democracy, continue to try to rig the election. His agenda is failing. This presidency is failing. He knows the headwinds in a midterm. Now he's dialing up for seats. He called Greg Abbott, who doesn't have the courage, doesn't have the conscience, and he has rolled over and he said, yes, sir, and. So we have got to step up. We tried to play by a higher set of standards and rules with our independent redistricting, and we believe in that. We are talking about emergency measures to respond to what's happening in Texas, and we will nullify what happens in Texas. We will pick up 5 seats with the consent of the people, and that's the difference between the approach we're taking and the approach they're taking. There are no rules for Donald Trump. And this is a serious moment in American history. And so we are here to meet this moment head on. We will not be complicit.
It's kind of sad that we need someone to literally say, yo, look up. This guy that's destroying the country is destroying the country. Hey, this is what we can do. I understand from our elected official standpoint, they need to start by doing something. They're in positions of whatever levels of power that they've got, from governors, to Congress people, to senators that understand what's happening. It's more than just tweeting. It's more than just posting. It's more than just having videos saying, this is what I'm doing. You have to do something more that literally stops them and let them complain about it, because that brings more attention to it. This is the approach that Gavin Newsom is taking, and I appreciate it. So sometimes those responses come from people that push back just really fast, because I want to point out how ridiculous the argument can be against these obvious facts that came out of Fox News, because it comes straight back to character assassination. And Kellyanne Conway, the author of Alternative Facts from the beginning of Trump's first administration, was on, I guess, The Five. And she was trying to dispel and push back on the character of Gavin Newsom, specifically talking about this issue.
Get 5 Republicans out, and they could also shore up 4 vulnerable Democrats in swing seats and make sure we get those as well.
It's
and when
easy to
there
get
are
elected, I'll clarify, it's easy, simple to get elected
Is
and
it?
reelected and reelected as a Democrat, as a socialist, as a
That's not,
as a coddle,
Gavin
excuse
Newsom
me,
is a
as
socialist.
a coddle criminals. Has he condemned Mondomi? Has he condemned what's going on
Kellyanne,
here?
stop just
No, hold
throwing
on.
whatever on the wall about this. You're just
excuse
using
me.
buzzwords.
No, I don't need to use buzzwords here.
Get 5 Republicans out.
Again, just call people out for what they're doing. So she just throws words all over the place. Socialist, communist. Gavin Newsom, socialist, communist. This is, maybe we address what it is that's being said. And I'm glad Jessica Tarloff did that. So then there was that freeze. There was that hiccup in Kellyanne Conway's flow of misinformation. And she had to finally say, I'm not using buzzwords. Just make them accountable for the things that they're saying. It isn't that hard. The hard part is when people say stupid things to you and you have to come with a litany of facts as they go, nuh-uh. That's really where the hard battles come from, these types of debates. But I do want to talk about what it is that Gavin Newsom is doing. Yes, there was a video. Yes, there's Obama talking about it. But what are they doing on the ground to try and stop this? And it originates from California, and it's got many people that are trying to push what they're doing in Texas, these MAGA Republicans. It's got them upset and pissed off. And this is what they're upset and pissed off about. He had an event talking about
it. And we'll present this to the voters on a special election that happens to coincide with other municipal elections on November 4th. It is a sprint. And if California, one of the most un-Trump states in America, is not successful, at our peril, we may not get this back. I'm telling you, we may not. He is rigging this next midterm election before one vote is cast. He tried to wreck our democracy after the last vote was cast the last time. Now he's doing it in plain sight. And we have to have our sights focused, laser focused on winning, fighting fire with fire, no longer on our back heels, on our toes. We drive the narrative. We drive the reforms. We drive the talking points, surround sound, not just California, all of us, we the people, states, large and small, all across this country. It is time for action, no longer words.
I get it. I know Gavin Newsom speaks very politically. He's very much a politician. He very much pushes the firm politician guy. I'm serious. I'm straightforward. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. And we got to be tough. Yes, I know it's the energy that he is projecting that people are supposed to then respond to. And maybe just my pessimistic mind goes, yeah, I know he's doing it for the purpose of igniting someone. I mean, I'm already ignited, so I don't necessarily need that kind of energy for him to try and overly project. Fine. But what he's saying is right. So maybe people who are still asleep, we have to understand that people who are still asleep have to sometimes hear the most obvious things with this kind of energy that for some reason they need a politician to tell them, be ready to fight. It's on board. It's with us, not with them. Yeah, yes. So I have to give some leeway for that type of stuff. But it does achieve some results. Because look, the fascists showed up at his event with a border patrol showing up to try and intimidate folks that were outside of it and inside.
Hey, now we're here making Los Angeles a safer place since we don't have politicians. We do that ourselves. So that's what we're here today. As you can see.
So the police state continues to do its thing out in California, where Gavin Newsom was having that event, because they're afraid. So they need to come out with some kind of force to show that they're actually angry. They're scared little children because they're followed by a scared little baby in the White House. That's the reasons why they showed up. But then again, like I said, you can go and have these events and make sure they show up and bring more attention to what it is that they're doing, especially when you're on the right side of history. It even had Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, show up and get very upset about this. And now she's on fire too. Weird how that works.
Not believe that this just happened to be a coincidence.
There is no way this was a coincidence. This was widely publicized that the governor and many of our other elected officials were having a press conference here to talk about redistricting, and they decided they were going to come and thumb their nose in front of the governor's face. Why would you do that? That is unbelievably disrespectful. It's a provocative act. They're talking about disorder in Los Angeles, and they are the source of the disorder in Los Angeles right now. This is just completely unacceptable. This is a administration, this is a Customs and Border Patrol that has gone amok. This absolutely has to stop. There was no danger here. There was no need to detain anyone here. And there was certainly no need to have a provocative act right here where the governor is having a press conference.
Just point out that the need was to try and intimidate folks because we're under an authoritarian regime right now and it's time to fight back. Just go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it because it's what it is that we're seeing. But there's one more aspect of this, and this is the reasons why I was actually really on board with what Gavin Newsom is doing. I've always said it could be from the smallest of things. Many people who are in denial about the horrible things that they're doing, they like to cover it up or say it's not a big deal when they're not experiencing it or they're not seeing it from the person that they really hate, specifically in politics. That's why you'll ask, so if your guy's doing this, would you be on board with it? You know, just flipping the script on them and they can lie about it, but you have to actually do it and let their response highlight what it is that they've always been supporting. And one of those things, which is very surface level, juvenile type of things to do, is Gavin Newsom's latest tweet, his tweet campaign, where he's tweeting like Trump, but he's also saying the things that he's going to be doing, and it pisses off conservatives because they're like, how dare you speak like a juvenile child? Bro, you're following a juvenile child. So it highlights it for them. And next, you know, Fox News is reading these tweets and highlighting that Donald Trump is a juvenile child. Watch.
Gavin Newsom is in on the act now, firing back at Trump about the redistricting. On X last night, Donald Trump, you see all the caps, right? Do you notice the style? You see what's going on here, right? Donald Trump, the lowest polling president in recent history. This is your second to last warning. The next one is the last one. Stand down now or California will counterstrike legally to destroy your illegal crooked maps in red states. Press conference coming, hosted by America's favorite governor, Gavin Newsom. Final warning next. You won't like it. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Sure. Go.
So they see what it is. He even pointed out, Bill Hemmer there was like, you see the similarities here, these all caps and boisterous words and telling you who your favorite person is. So now they have to start paying attention to the guy that they've been supporting and maybe start feeling like fools for seeing that, lapping it up and acting like it's not as ridiculous as it is. But since they hate Gavin Newsom, they'll say it out loud. Matter of fact, Maria Bartiromo, that same non-journalist, read that same post because it's all over Fox News now, and asked Daryl Issa about it. And he walked right into showing just how ridiculous these idiots that carry Donald Trump's ass around in their hands, how ridiculous they are, no matter how much they're seeing it being exhibited in front of them.
Well, I mean, Governor Newsom fired off a Trump-style tweet yesterday saying this: Donald Trump, the lowest polling president in recent history. This is your second to last warning. The next one is the last one. Stand down now or California will counter-strike legally to destroy your illegal crooked maps in red states. Press conference coming, hosted by America's favorite governor, Gavin Newsom. Final warning next. You won't like it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I mean, is he joking? Is this a joke?
Well, you know, the ultimate in false statement, Trump's low approval rating, it couldn't be higher.
I know.
But from a more practical standpoint, look, in some states, the voters have allowed politicians to draw their own line. In California, the voters made a decision that it was going to be done by an independent commission, and he's trying to override that so we can go back to having politicians draw lines for themselves.
All right, we will leave it there. Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. Thank you so much.
So a bunch of things happened there. First, Maria Bartiromo has to say, is he joking? Wait, that sounds just like Donald Trump. Is he joking? So maybe people started asking. And number two, I played that whole thing because they keep reading the tweet. And eventually it permeates the brains of MAGA minions that are watching and go, wait, are red states redistricting wildly? Do red state politicians, do they all vote against the act that was all supported by Democrats in the past? That was pointed out by just one Jessica Tarloff on that network. But if they keep hearing it, that Republicans voted against a bill that would stop this constant redistricting that happens in multiple states across the country, except way more prominently in Republican states across the country, maybe they'll start hearing a couple of facts come in if it's done in the form of Donald Trump, because that's the only language that they speak. But Daryl dumbass Issa, as in that tweet pointed out, saying how bad Donald Trump's numbers are. Why is he saying his numbers are bad? They're the best ever. They couldn't be better. I feel like 30%, it could be better. I feel like low 30s could be better. So then it makes people ask, wait, where's Donald Trump polling? Does he actually suck? Because they only speak in this language. Dumbass Daryl Issa. So I don't need to play the last one from Newsom because he's basically saying what I was saying. People are not going to understand what's happening until they see it happening from someone they just don't like. And then maybe they'll start seeing it. And if they don't, fine, whatever, let them keep stealing your money. But we're going to fight back. I'm done with this guy. Thanks, Gavin Newsom. I mean, at least you're trying something. On to the next. I was watching this before we got on today, before I jumped on here. I'm still trying to figure out when Donald Trump's going to come. Maybe you guys have seen it. Maybe you'll let me know. When Donald Trump has come out of this one-on-one meeting with Vladimir Putin in, the Russian state of Alaska. I keep saying that because I don't know if you guys saw it. Donald Trump thought that he was going to Russia in Alaska. Whatever. And so now they're having that one-on-one meeting, and he's going to come out and say, I've solved the problem. Maybe he will. I don't know. We'll see how much he gives up to solve that problem when the guy that he's meeting with plays him every time they have any kind of meeting and tells him what to do before Donald Trump then comes out and does what he wants him to do. So let's start here. He was, again, on that flight headed towards Alaska, and he was asked about the constant aggression, the constant killing, the more offensive nature of this Russian army that's invaded Ukraine. And this is his answer to what it is that's been happening. This guy's crazy.
Thank you for coming back to take questions. We saw that Russia continued its violence into Ukraine last night, launching even more drones. What did you make of that?
I think they're trying to negotiate. He's trying to set a stage. I mean, in his mind, that helps him make a better deal. It actually hurts him. But in his mind, that helps him make a better deal. if they can continue the killing. Maybe it's a part of the world. Maybe it's just his fabric, his genes, his genetics. But he thinks that makes him, gives him strength in negotiating. I think it hurts him, but I'll be talking to him about it later.
Launching more offensive operations into Ukraine is a negotiating tool, Donald Trump believes, for Vladimir Putin. He doesn't believe that it's going to work, but I'm going to go talk to him. Did you hear what he said? Him launching more offensives into Ukraine is a negotiating tool only in Vladimir Putin's mind. Therefore, I'm going to go negotiate with him. I think it's working, you dumbass. I think that negotiating tool that you think is being aggressive and fighting and more violence, and then you go to talk to him, that means that it's working to have you go talk to him. So I guess all the folks in LA and DC that are not protesting this military state that's been installed in multiple cities in the country, as that's happening, I guess the message to the American people is he'll negotiate with you if you go fight. How about some violence? That's what the president's calling for, because he respects Vladimir Putin because he's killing people. Once Vladimir Putin starts killing people, he's ready to do some more negotiating. He's been negotiating with them for years. Matter of fact, it was supposed to take 24 hours, maybe a week when he got into office this time to end this war. So here's more nice things that Donald Trump had to say about Vladimir Putin and his negotiating tactic of killing people.
A little bit, Mr. President, because I know you've had a lot of phone calls with President Putin. What's the difference in a face-to-face, in-person meeting?
Look, he's a smart guy, been doing it for a long time, but so have I. Been doing it for a long time. And here we are with President. That was much more difficult than what I'm doing today, believe me. So we get along. There's a good respect level on both sides. And I think, something's going to come of it. I noticed he's bringing a lot of business people from Russia. And that's good. I like that because they want to do business, but they're not doing business until we get the war settled.
Are you going to talk about this a little bit?
President McDumbass said, we're good friends. And now we're both president. But they've both been doing this for a very long time. Yeah, he's been tugging your ass around for a very long time. You've been his puppy for a very long time. You've grown into an old ass dog, still on that same leash for a very long time. But he keeps patting you on the head and telling you that we're friends. Now, that's the relationship. Actually, I like the way that CNN put this together. This CNN talking about that relationship. Sometimes the puppy gets upset, but he always comes back to heel.
Putin said Trump is brilliant. I don't know if he means it, if he doesn't mean it. I don't care. I like it, okay? I like Putin. Now, Putin called me a genius, by the way. I think I'd have a good relationship with Putin, a great relationship with Putin. I hope he likes me. We've had some very, very good talks.
I really can't say right now.
President Putin is sharp as you can be. Putin, fierce, is smart.
When you were in office, you said that you respected President Putin. Do
Yeah,
you
I
still
do.
respect him today?
He made a tremendous mistake. He's a smart guy, To say he got along with Putin, that's a terrible thing. He said, no, that's a good thing.
I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people.
Putin has been more difficult. I'm not happy with Putin. We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin. I'm disappointed in President Putin.
Very disappointed with President Putin.
President Putin, I believe, wants to see peace. I think President Putin will make peace.
All those peace talks were right before he went back to not making peace. And when ceasefires were potentially agreed to or in theory talked about, he went right back to killing more people. But, he kicked Volodymyr Zelensky out of the White House, for showing up, in a jumpsuit. But the dog still heals. Okay, so there's a couple people who have some kind of optimism when it comes to what's going to come out of this meeting. Cool, have that optimism. The only problem is that's not based in any history. It's not based in any kind of things we've seen. It's not based in the previous relationship that these two have had, where he's his friend while telling him everything to do, while making him openly in front of an international community tell the press that his intelligence community, Donald Trump's intelligence community, is wrong in saying exactly what happened that Vladimir Putin was doing in the elections the first time around. That's who we've got in this closed door meeting. But he's got a bunch of business folks coming in, and I can't wait to do business with them, because you know how good Donald Trump is at doing business. Sergei Lavrov showed up as well too. He's the Russian foreign minister. He does a lot of speaking. You guys might recognize his face. This is them showing up in Alaska, which, by the way, in Alaska, as they rolled through, you could see some protests, people holding up Ukrainian flags, protesting what it is that's probably going to happen in this meeting. So I'm ready to be surprised at the great results of this meeting, but it just will not be based off of what we've seen. And a little bit more of that slap in the face. I think this is just a very simple thing. Some people fall over themselves over it, and I understand it, because what they're doing is they keep showing signs, just like the signs of more attacks as they didn't go for this meeting. It's embarrassing, and it's showing who's the boss. Sergei Lavrov showed up to this meeting, and just pay attention to what's on his shirt.
Сергей Викторович, а вы первый раз на Аляске? Для известия, скажите, пожалуйста. Первый? Вам нравится?
Let's watch it one more time in case you didn't see. It's really fast. I have a picture as well.
Сергей Викторович, а вы первый раз на Аляске? Для известия, скажите, пожалуйста. Первый? Вам нравится?
Well, the first problem is they show up there with like jeans and like a vest on, like a puffy vest. Where's the suit, bro? He's going to kick him out of that meeting, just like he did Zelensky for not showing up with a suit on. But here's a picture as we talk about this. Here's a picture of what it is that he's wearing, in case you guys didn't see it, because it was kind of halfway sideways image of that shot that was taken. But he's got the USSR sweater, I guess not a t-shirt, a sweater on under his puffy vest, because he wants to make sure these guys know we're going to get what we want. Our federation will be back together, because we've got Donald Trump toting him around, and whatever dirt we've got on Donald Trump, whatever reasons that he continues to do whatever it is that we tell him to do, we're going to get our way. Or maybe we won't, and we just want to piss off enough people that are watching us embarrass him. There's always little things that then lead to bigger things that are signals of what it is that these guys are doing and saying and laughing in this president's face over. But, you know, Donald Trump can't wait to talk to those business folks. And as I pointed out yesterday, as was reported, he's potentially looking to offer up Russian access to that same state, Alaska, where they are right now. Good job. All I'm saying is there's no reason to trust him. Just like there was no reason to trust him about tariffs. Just like there was no reason to trust him about elections. Just like there was no reason to trust him about these mass deportations where they said they're going after violent criminals. What is it that people can trust this president on? All these wins. I got one last thing. It's not there. No, not there either. That's the one. I got one more last thing to happen. I got plenty of time today. I think I did go kind of fast. I'm moving. But I did want to say again, you guys, if you enjoy what we're doing, go ahead, like, subscribe, share it. Let people know what's happening, from the live one also to the videos that you may see later. Talk about it with your people. Reach out to me on Instagram. Say what's up. Tell me what it is that we've got right, what it is we got wrong. And if you got more ideas of what it is that we can talk about that you're interested in, please let me know. A couple weeks, maybe a week and a half ago, I talked about the last prisoner, the last cellmate of Jeffrey Epstein. And it was a story apparently a lot of people had heard of and I hadn't. But that was also sent to me by someone over on Instagram, and I thought it was awesome. Stuff like that is always fascinating to me. Like seeing it come in. I want to see what you guys are talking about. So let's go ahead and jump back into this last one. It was a bit of an offshoot from what was going on in California, except it starts with people who are clutching their pearls again over being so offended by language that's spoken by Democrats that many time Republicans speak, and specifically this president speaks, except way more vulgar. It starts here. It starts here with the president of the California labor unions there, Lorena Gonzalez. And she's speaking about the situations that are happening in California and who maybe we should blame instead of migrants and homeless people. Yes.
To remind them that if you care about your future, if you care about your kids' future, you have to recognize this. I don't care what your job is. I don't care what part of the state you live in. I don't care where you came from. You have more in common with an undocumented farm worker than you did with the fucking billionaires who are causing this problem in the first place. And since I've exceeded my, to remind them.
Isn't it weird how just, one curse word will get enough people to be jazzed up? It's the same truth that people have been telling. It's the same truth that actual progressives have been saying for years. Why are we piggybacking on people who are stealing our money and then demonizing the folks who are the biggest victims of these thefts? So Lorena Gonzalez was pointing that out, and all she had to say was one word, and look, it's fired up. Look, Gavin Newsom was behind her too. How dare the governor stand behind this Labor president, talk so bad about billionaires who are stealing from us? That sometimes is some of the response. It came from one California state, is he a state senator? State representative. His name is Carl DeMaio. So that moment was brought up by a local news reporter, reposted and pointed out. He said, and he quoted her. So since that news guy quoted her is saying what it is that she said about billionaires, Carl DeMaio, Republican, has to do his work. And he said, California media, he's speaking to them. After the vulgar behavior today at a live event, you have a duty to not cover these rallies if Gonzalez is involved. You have a duty to your viewers and the FCC licenses to keep. Bro, calm your dumb ass down. You have a duty to not play these filthy words because it's so vulgar, because this MAGA party doesn't do anything vulgar, does not participate in vulgarity at all, doesn't protect a child molester who was a part of a sex trafficking ring who did dirty things to children and has no apologies for it and is actually covering it up. How dare you have this vulgar behavior? It's so disgusting. I can't believe they would do such a thing. This is ridiculous. So, Governor Gavin Newsom's press office, that's another page over there on X, decided to let Representative Carl DeMaio, reminded him of who he is with this vulgarity. They reposted this story about him from 2013. That's him. It says potential successor for San Diego's disgraced mayor. A disgraced mayor already has alleged history of openly masturbating in restrooms. How This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. They're so depraved. They have so much dirt and skeletons in their closet, and they're so hypocritical. It's really easy. Just show everyone who they are when they're trying to act like they're these very innocent, virgin-eared people who never heard the word fuck. That's all she said. And he's like, how you have an obligation to not cover these, because his objective is to have these press conferences and these discussions not covered. If they're not covered, more people won't know about the things that he wants to continue to support. Just call them out. They're so bad at this. They're already the bad guys. Just call them. That's been the biggest problem with the Democratic Party. They won't fight back against these losers. We have to wait for them to beat themselves up, which they kind of do, but then people still follow along anyway. But still, going back to this guy's depravity, there's details from the article. I looked it up to make sure it was real. And guess what? It was real. Here's some details. That nasty motherfucker. When Carl DeMaio, one of the leading Republican candidates to replace alleged serial harasser Filner, that's the guy down in San Diego he was looking to replace. He's already a sexual harasser, so this guy wants to replace him. So when he wanted to replace him in the city council, he would allegedly leave the dice during meetings to masturbate in a men's room, former city council president Ben Huiso said. I mean, I guess the saving grace is considering this crowd that likes to talk about how men go in women's restrooms and looking to assault people, which never happens. When they say that, at least this guy went into the men's restroom to go and, have a good time with himself. There's one more piece of information from this article. Hoyso, now a Democratic state senator, said he witnessed DeMaio in the act twice, but others suspect his inappropriate activity was more frequent. The politician said he walked into the restroom sometime in 2009 and saw his colleague standing at the urinal with his pants around his ankles. DeMaio was masturbating, Hoyso told the website. He jumped, caught by surprise. He jumped to the sink, saying, I'm sorry, about 6 times. Then washed his hands and darted out. Well, at least he washed his hands. There's more saving grace, I guess. Marty Emerald, a city councilwoman, confirmed the account, saying that she saw Hoyso right after the alleged incident. She said Ben was in a state of shock, face red, eyes bulging. I said, you look like you just saw the devil. And he said, DeMaio is masturbating in the middle of the room. But he doesn't want that bad word broadcast over the FCC airwaves because it's too filthy, it's dirty. Except your filthy ass hands. Maybe you should have washed them twice. Did you make sure not just your palms, make sure you get the backs of your hands and go like a little bit up your wrists a little bit too, you nasty ass. These are the people that we're allowing to win. Stupid people in the White House that don't know what they're doing, not up for down. Water carriers that are minions wearing overalls and like yellow faces like this guy. We're letting them continue to just flaunt their disgusting nature in our faces and act like they're the moral ones. I'm just saying. I love what they're doing here. So yeah, good. Call them out. I enjoy it. Because they're not going to continue to lie to enough people to make them think they are who they absolutely not. Okay. Woolsey, you said that it was intentional what he was doing in the middle of the bathroom. Who knows? Maybe. And for maybe some of you ladies who haven't been in men's restrooms, some of these urinals. There's like, there's like there's unwritten rules of men's urinals. First of all, I'm sure all guys know this, but sometimes urinals don't have dividers. They're just urinal and you're standing right next to this other guy and your feet can even touch. And there's urinal however many may be in there. Sometimes they have just a 1-bar divider. It's maybe like half of your height. So at least there's a little bit of privacy. But this some bitch's pants were around his ankles. Nasty ass. Filthy motherfucker. Go and whatever. Save it for home. But yeah, maybe that makes some sense. Maybe he was trying to, have a show for the other fellas that came in. Who knows? Anyways, thank you guys. About to go to damage report time. What way to end the Friday show, right? If you had your drinks and maybe you had a smoke, I mean, maybe you don't want those images still in your head, but still, it needs to be called out. Glad you guys are here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Say hi one more time to John over there from me. I'm gonna see if I can jump in and do it myself. But if not, have a great weekend, you guys. Good to see you guys. Go ahead if you haven't yet. There's this thumbs up button. Press that one for me. And also, when we do these videos, press it again. And then there's this arrow thing, and it says share next to it. Do that as well. Good to see you guys. We'll catch you guys next week. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope you have some time off to relax a little bit. If not, like me, you're going to be scrolling and finding out how more horrible things are happening over the weekend. Let's see what happens with the Russia situation. Good to see you guys. We'll catch you next weekend. I'm sorry, on Monday. See you, Ma.